transports, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome back once again to Hard Mode Transport Fever 2. We're currently finding ourselves sat in downtown Portishead at the main road that runs through the middle of Portishead, and we can see the river spanning bridge there, or one of the support structures for the bridge there in the distance, nicely framed up as we watch the comings and goings of all the residents and visitors of Portishead going about their daily business. Now, this episode has been recorded while the previous episode is being rendered, therefore any comments that may be forthcoming on the previous episode, I won't have had time to react to them at the time of recording. So if you've all turned around and told me, my god, you should just go live in a hole somewhere and never do beautification works again, I haven't seen it yet. It's very likely that that is the case, but we shall see. So today is going to be a more routine sort of video, and no beautification this time around. We're going to carry on with some traditional network expansion, maybe take a look at some of our lines, see if we can make any slight tweaks here and there, just to eke out that little bit more money and profit from the lines. As I said, we're in such a position now where every line doesn't have to be 100% efficient, and nor am I going to aim to achieve that. Yes, I'm happy where we are, and we're in, like I said, we're in a position where we can afford to be a bit more inefficient with our lines, and maybe go for something that looks nicer rather than perhaps is that little bit more efficient in terms of min-maxing the throughput. So yeah, that's where we are. Let's bring up the user interface. There we go. We can see we're just under $2 billion. Still need to change it to pound sterling. Maybe one day I'll remember to do that before I start recording. Cash flow hovers around 70 million, as we can see, and we've tipped over 1.2 million units of cargo transported across our network, and almost 300,000 passengers as well. So things are looking very good. We're into 1985, at the back end of 1985 as it stands, getting close to 1986, so edging ever closer to the modern era, so that will be a very interesting. Obviously, in terms of our modern trains, we have the TGV, which we put on 2 episodes ago. When I last looked at that, it seemed to be doing very well for itself, which is very good to see. So today then, as I said, back to network expansion, rail laying and the likes, and what I would like to do is we're going to take a line from Portishead, which is why we've started here, from the station that we already have in position, and I would like to run up towards LEWES, which is here and at the moment isn't connected at all. What I have in mind is we have a capacity to put an extra track and platform here on the outside edge of our main central station in Portishead. We have some lines ready here that are currently just terminating rather abruptly, but the plan is we'd run past this farm, and as then we start to emerge on the other side, we would curve around, start heading upwards, and then it's a shot into LEWES. I think the best position for the station is going to be in this sort of location here. Anywhere around here will do. And then once we've got our station here, we can also continue the line onwards up this way, perhaps have a tunnel through this little hillside here, a bridge over this connection road here, because this is used by our delivery vehicles, so we don't want them to be slowing down unnecessarily. And then we can connect in here at Rothbury, so that if we wanted to, we could have a multi-stop service that runs from Rothbury, LEWES, and then eventually into Portishead. Or we could do what we've done so far this series, which is have a point-to-point, so we'd go from Portishead to LEWES on one line, and then a second line that runs from LEWES into Rothbury. So let's make a start on that. So to get started, the first thing we're going to need to do is add in that extra track and platform we were just talking about. So High speed with catenary, of course, is needed for this. There we go, there's our new track. Now we need the platform. I think on this side of the river we've opted for red trim, no, blue trim, you can see it right there. So passenger platform, blue trim. There we go, so that's the platform. We're going to want to put some roofing across the top as well as some underpasses as well. So we'll have an underpass there and one there, and then that correlates with what we have on our existing platforms. It's a shame the platform texture is a little bit different there, but that's okay. We also want a roof. What does a special platform roof look like? I think we're going to change all the roofs here for these ones, because these look quite fancy, quite modern, and we're in that sort of era now. So I think we're going to go for this. Yeah, I quite like that. We've got 6 new vehicles, a bus, Class 43 Intercity Executive forward and reverse, the LVS 86 tram, and 2 new high-speed trains, the FGW and the Intercity. Perhaps we can use some of those new trains on the lines that we are looking to put in place today. But for now, I just want to get these roofs done, so just bear with me while I get all this deleted. It's a bit slow due to the frame rate drops and the lag. Right, there we go, that's the roofs destroyed. And now we can replace them with these modern, fancy, wavy style roofs that we have available here. Okay, there we go. Let's have a look at what does that look like in the regular view. That looks quite good, actually. Yeah, I quite like that. And it makes the stations stand out from the generic stations that we have. Obviously, this station would be the one that stands out, as we've kind of grown Portishead to be our capital city, of course. So, do we have... oh, we do have modern buildings, so we could even start replacing the buildings as well while we're here. And if we look, they do have the same style roofing as the platforms. So let's just quickly pause this, because this might mess up the connections. And let's just see what happens here. Okay, so the passenger connection has been put back in place, so that's good. Let's just get rid of these 2 here. Okay, that doesn't generate a connection, unfortunately. Is there anything else further along? No, they're all the older style buildings there. Okay, what about then if we get rid of all of that? Give ourselves a little more room here. And do something like that for the main frontage. Have one of those either side, and then maybe drop to something a little smaller just on the very edge, like that. There we go, a lovely modern station for Portishead. Not something I was planning on putting in position today, but there we go, we now have it. As we can see, the people can still exit and enter the station without any problems, so that's all fine. I'll do some detailing around here, but I'll do that off camera. Just make all this one continuous sort of area. So yes, that'll be done off camera, don't worry about that. Let's now do what we wanted to do initially, which was obviously get this connected over to LEWES. So how's that? How's the overlap, first of all? The overlap's good. That's okay, yes. Right, let's just continue these 2 tracks onwards. As I said, we're going to run past the farm first of all. Otherwise, trying to turn in this small area would reduce the speed far too much. There we go. Right, we're going to need a diamond here as well. Let's get it around about 100. Yeah, there we go. In fact, do we need a diamond? No, we don't, because they're only accessing this outer platform. So we don't need the diamond. We'll put a connection in there as well. That just means when we purchase the train, it can actually access this platform from this direction. And now we can press on and take this all the way over to the town of LEWES. And I think if we start curving now, we're going to have less to do in a moment, although I imagine this is still going to be a very tight turn. Yes, if we try and keep it 186, the radius is going to be up here somewhere, and I think we're going to be better suited just taking a hit here on the speed. And if we go, in fact, we'll really drop it down. We'll go, can we go as low as 30? Alright, let's go 35. So it's a very, very aggressive turn there. But now we can start to really open it up and build that speed back up that we've just had to sacrifice. How does that look? That's fine. That level crossing I'm not concerned with. It's only an access road for the farm. It's not an intercity connection, so nobody's going to be travelling down here. So there we go. We'll parallel it all up. Yeah, it's a shame about this tight curvature here, but overall, along the majority of the length of this track, the trains are going to be able to hit 186 maximum. So having a tiny area where they have a severe slowdown, because they've got the room to pick the speed back up, I don't think it's going to be a major problem. I think it'll work pretty well. All we have to do is obviously make sure that for the remainder of the journey we keep the speed at 186 just to compensate and allow them to really pick up any lost speed there. Right, what's going off here? Is that a collision with the road? I guess it must be. Well, given that it's only an industry access road, we can get rid of it. And of course we can relay it later on, just for completion's sake, of course. Okay, so if we want to be heading this sort of direction now, again, just making sure all times we can maintain that speed just to make up for that very tight curve that we've had to put in previously. And at this point I think we'll go ahead, put down our station. Let's have, well, we'll go for the UK generic passenger station in Lewes. We want the blue trim. Building size 2. Lewes is likely going to be a town that doesn't see much growth or goods being delivered. We may actually deliver the goods because that's one of the industry chains that we've not looked into yet, and it would be a shame to ignore it completely. So while we might deliver goods, I can't see machinery being brought up here. So the town of Lewes, its growth is going to be artificially stunted, which is fine. We'll go for the maximum length. We want long canopy, and we'll have 2 tracks. High speed, catenary should already be selected, yes it is. And we'll have it just there. That's perfect. It should be called, no, it's called Lewes Annex, so let's just delete the annex. There we go. And now we can just continue this line into the station. Just check that we've maintained good speed there. Yes, we have. We're dropping a couple of meters in elevation, but it's over a fair stretch, so when the trains are returning to Portishead and therefore climbing up the hill from 8 to 13, it's not going to be too arduous for them. There's a bear on the tracks. Right, let's put a crossover here now. Like that. And then we want to put the signals in place. This grass, which does appear at certain areas along the track, I'll get rid of that between episodes, so you don't have to watch me painting in the ballast. It will be done between this episode and the next one. We'll have a 4-aspect signal, and we'll go for the auto signal. And I think we'll go for 1 kilometre spacing. I can't imagine there's going to be a whole lot of trains running up and down here, so having fairly large blocks would be more than okay. In fact, might even go for 2 kilometre spacing, just to be weird and different. Why not? Anyway, let's crack on. So if we put a signal there, has that populated the rest of the line? Yes, it has. That's almost like an elbow joint. That is extremely tight. So we've got 1 block, 2, 3, and 4. So that should be more than enough. Can't foresee there being more than, say, 2 or maybe 3 trains heading this way. double them up, and that's doubled them up nicely. I'm not sure if I'm happy about that. I think we're going to leave it for now, but that might be redone in the future. And what we might do instead is if we can get a tunnel under the farm and have it tunneled down at a reasonable gradient, then we might tunnel underneath. That gives us a larger radius there. So we'll still likely have some slowdown, but it shouldn't be as severe as that, because it just doesn't even look right to me. But for now, it'll do. I'm not going to concern myself too greatly with it, really. Right, that's that done. That's the lines drawn in. Now we need to actually connect this into the city of Lewes. And that's nice and easily done. Just like that. And we are going to want a bus service through Lewes, of course, to get the people in and out and away from the station. So we want buildings, and we'll have, for now, given that, as I said, Lewes is likely not going to be a town that we grow too much, we'll have a very simple loop system. And to facilitate that, we're going to want to join those roads together. There you go, you're welcome. And then we'll have it head back down, and then to loop round there, which is okay. So let's set the bus line up first of all, and then we can get the buses purchased. There we go, and this is inner city bus, Lewes station. So now we want the road depot, of course. We may as well just put it there, not causing any harm. Right, passenger bus. So we got the Burkhoff Juvedich, something along those lines, which is, it's slower than the Leyland Olympian, but I don't think the inner city roads allow 70 miles per hour. But it has higher power and more capacity. I think we'll go for that here, and we'll just have 3 of those. And they want to be coloured. Is it that sort of colour, do we think? Or is it more this pastel blue? We'll go for the pastel. I'm not sure. It'll work. There we go. Just have a look at these buses as they leave. We haven't seen them yet. Inner City Bus L. Obviously, it's truncated the line name there, which is fine. And now, of course, we can set in the passenger line as well. So we'll have it start at Portishead rather than Lewes. So we're going, yep, Portishead to Lewes. It's got a nice distinct colour scheme compared to the other lines in the area, so should be any confusion there. And this is an intercity commuter. No, we'll call it a shuttle. I do believe we said the shuttles are for our smaller towns. And this is Portishead, Lewes. Although that should be a backslash rather than a greater than sign. Right, there we go. Yes, intercity shuttle, Portishead to Lewes. Wonderful. Now we can purchase our train. This depot does not have access to this line, so we can't use that depot there. That depot is facing the wrong direction. 13 new vehicles, some intercities of various different liveries, some freight trains, a proper intercity forward and reverse car, faster carriages, so that's all worthwhile inspecting in a few moments. Okay, right then, it looks like we're going to have to put in a new depot for this, which is fine. I think having a depot in this area would just add to the scenery, into the vibe. So we want buildings, we want the train depot, and if we just put it alongside the tracks, we often do see rail depots. And in fact, if we just double it up, in fact, wait there, first of all, let's put this connection in. So really, this can only serve the one line, but that's okay. And then yeah, if we put a second one in, and this is just for scenery now, it'll not actually be used. It just makes the area look a little bit more alive, a little bit busy. The gradient change or the height elevation change isn't the best, but yeah, it just adds a little bit extra to the surrounding area. Regardless, we can now purchase the train. Now, we could be really extravagant and go for one of the new in-city high-speed trains that we unlocked. Clearly, we're not going to be using the TGV out here. You know, for a high-speed train, it only does 125, so it isn't the fastest in the world. I think that capacity is probably overkill. Do we have... well, we've got a lot of the RABD E1212 Mirages. Let's just create our own train for this. Now, we don't want the high-speed train, I don't think. Maybe the... oh, maybe a couple of them doubled up would work. Perhaps if... yeah, we'll have the intercity Swallow. Does this... okay, that's just an engine car. I thought it was like a rail bus. No, it's just an engine car. Okay, and then passenger wagons. I thought we unlocked some new ones. Maybe I'm mistaken. Except we've already we had the Mark III anyway. Unless it was just extra variants of the Mark III that we unlocked. That could be it. Yeah. But we don't have any of these Einheitswagen 4s, so perhaps we'll go for a couple of those on this one. And I think just 2 is going to be enough. I mean, that's exceptionally rapid, which is good. We want that acceleration to compensate for this tight radius here so it can get back up to its top speed pretty quickly. Only 20 million. That's no problem. Let's get 2 of those then. And then can we colour them the same colour as the line? I think it's that one there. We can. It doesn't look like it's had any effect, but we'll have a look when they leave the depot. There we go. Let's have a look now. Here she comes. BC Northwest Intercity Swallow. There's the Einheitswagen 4s. First time we've seen them on the map. They're quite comparable to the BR Mark IIIs that we're using across the board, so I just wanted to get them on just for a little bit of variety. They are ever so slightly slower. I believe they only do 124 compared to 125, so you're not losing too much speed, and they have a similar capacity as far as I believe, so yes, there we go. There we go, a new service, new train, new carriages, and that's just adding a little bit more to Portishead Station, making it ever bigger all the time. And obviously we've upgraded and modernised the aesthetics of the station as well, and it looks rather nice, I must admit. So there we go, that's that. Now, we did have that new high-speed train, quote unquote, and obviously the forerunner of that train we already have on our map here, running between West Ham and Rothbury. As we can see, it's a nice profitable service. Very profitable at times, sometimes a little bit less so, as we can see, but every year we are making a profit. Shall we see about swapping this over for one of the newer high-speed trains that we got? So this is this one, the BR Blue. 125 carries 176. So there's actually... okay, so this is just a livery change, okay. Yes, there's no actual difference in terms of performance here. I think they even cost, yep, the same sort of maintenance. So yes, there's no reason to swap that out unless you wanted a different colour. But I quite like the colour scheme that this one has. Although saying that, swapping it out would give it a nice new coat of paint. No, we'll leave it. There's no point. I know we have money to burn, but let's not get too silly. Okay, so there we go. We're now connected into Lewes. As I said, likely carry this line on into Rothbury, But before I do that, I want to point out a few changes that I'd made in between this episode and when I finished recording the previous one. One of the first changes, you can see it right here, is I've added extra runways at our cargo airport at Bakewell, as well as a cargo airport down over in Bracknell. Now, the effect that this has had, and I don't know if you can adjust this, I can't see how you can. If anybody does know, please let me know. But what it has done, if you can just make out the line there, they land on one of the runways and then they taxi around and then take off on the second runway. I found that this is preventing our aircraft from being bottlenecked coming in and out of our airport, and it's given us a lot more throughput. As you can also see, we've had a change of aircraft as well. We are now running the, what plane is this? The 757-200PF. Much higher capacity, as we can see, 51 miles an hour. They are also quite a lot faster than the old prop planes that we were running previously. However, as we saw with the prop plane, they weren't even having the chance to get up to their top speed anyway, so we're not seeing them utilize this full power. What we are seeing obviously is a great benefit from the increased carry capacity on these aircraft. That's had the effect of leveling up this silver mill, so the production is kicked up nicely here. We're not keeping up, as we can see. We are exhausting our silver supplies. It is a 2-to-1 ratio, so we do need at least, well, we need an even number in storage. That's not happening. We are running out before the next flight arrives, dropping off the next load of cargo. The spacing isn't 100%. Sometimes there is a little bit left over before the next plane arrives. Sometimes they do exhaust their reserves. I mean, as we can see here, by the time this aircraft taxis to the terminal, there should still be a little bit of silver left to be processed, although it's getting quite close. But yes, that's had a nice knock-on effect upstream. The increased production throughput here is obviously seeing more being shipped over to the machinery factory at West Ham. Obviously, that's where we did our beautification in the last episode. So that's had a nice effect down here, and this has just leveled up. It's very close. At one point it almost downgraded, as you can see by how close it is there. Luckily we're no longer in danger of that occurring anymore. Another problem I did encounter was over here. The machinery delivery vehicles, their line orders weren't set to only take machinery, so from time to time they were starting to load tools, and that just caused a big slowdown on the whole production chain. So I've gone in and amended their work order, so they are only going to be picking up machinery now. I'm not sure why I didn't do that when I set the line up. I ordinarily would do, so I paid the price there because that caused me a bit of confusion as to why everything had stopped production. The final change I have made is down here at Marlborough Tool Factory, and again what I found is, because initially the planks delivery line, this brown line here, it was coming on, we only had 4 tracks here, so the planks were coming in on the same line as one of the tool pickup trains. And what we had a one tool train on platform, another one on platform here. Obviously this one is largely irrelevant because this is stabled up on its own separate track, but we had one waiting here and the other tool train was waiting in this block, so our plank delivery trains were waiting back here and they had no way to get past onto this platform to drop off the goods. So as you can see, I've diverted them somewhat and they now branch off a little bit earlier, and that way if we have a backlog of trains waiting for tools to be produced, our planks trains can come in and drop off and leave without causing any interruption or cause them to trip over themselves. I've also increased the number of trains we have by 1. There were originally only 3 of them, there are now 4, and I've also changed the locomotive as well. These are now running the Series 1042. I can't remember what they had before, but it was quite an old model at this point, so I decided they were due for an upgrade, so that's happened. as we can see, by and large, it's a very profitable line. And you can see here, this is the sort of income we were making previously. Obviously the expenditure in line to follow as well. This is where the foul up happened. As you can see, we could make no money here, and that's because these were waiting for a full load, but they couldn't get a full load because there were no planks, and they couldn't get planks because the trains waiting for a full load were blocking the planks. So yes, that's all been rectified. Increasing the amount of trains, as we can see, has improved our revenue on that line, so that's working very nicely indeed. At one point we did have cash flow north of 100 million. I'm happy to keep it around about 50. That's more than enough for what we need to do. We've ticked over into 2 billion anyway, so there's no problems there. We have a new commuter train, RE450 commuter train. I'm guessing these are just carriages rather than rail buses. The bi-level cars look quite interesting, but they're not something you tend to see on a UK line, so whether we actually see them on our line or not is going to be a different matter. But what we can do is have a look at this train compared to the ones we're running at the moment. So it was... so these are... Yes, they're not just carriages, they're a pacer car, aren't they? Yes, they're pacers. So we could use pacers. They are very common in the UK. Or we have this one. Now that's obviously very expensive, as we can see. 3.2 million per year, but it does have a lot of capacity. But as we can see, it is a bi-level, and that's the only thing that puts me off using this one. I don't ever recall seeing a bi-level train in the UK. They may be there somewhere, or they may have been at one point in time, but to my mind I can't see them. However, if we look at one of our busier commuter lines, it might be worth having it on. So let's just have a quick look. Let's just drag this up as much as we can, and we'll sort it so we only see our trains. Shame we can't filter it by passenger and cargo. Oh, you can do it here, look. Right, I'm just going to pause it so these don't start jumping around the place. So which looks like, well, there you go, look, in-city commuter, this green one looks like a very popular line. Or the Bakewell one perhaps, but it's a bit slim on its profit margins. This one makes a lot of money. If we were going to use them anywhere, we'd use them here, I think. Do we want to do it? I mean, they're rapid little buggers, aren't they? I do like how quick they are. We are losing some capacity. 114. These only have 99. What's the speed on this? 78. So we're compensating the loss in capacity with an increase in speed, but not by much. So look at that. It's only 3 miles an hour. Do you know what? What was I saying earlier about not worrying if our lines are 100% efficient or not? Let's just do it. Let's get them on there just so we can have a look at them. Colour them in. And let's go and find one and have a good look. The pacers that we also unlocked, as I said, they can run some of our smaller shuttle lines. For example, the lines towards Bakewell and Blythe and Yoxall could quite happily run little pacers. In fact, let's do that. Let's swap this one. How much does this cost per year? There you go, look, 2.2 million. A pacer is much cheaper. Let's swap that for a pacer. What's the capacity? So we're losing a bit of capacity, but we could double it up and it would still be cheaper to run. Yeah, it would still be cheaper to run. Speed, I think it's pretty comparable. A little bit slower. Let's do that. Let's have a pacer on the map. Let's have a look at it. Let's have a go. Oh, you start off inside the carriage on that one. It's quite nice, that. And I think we'll probably end up seeing them appear quite frequently. In fact, let's change these ones as well. These can have pacers as well. And again, we'll double them up. I mean, they're cheaper to run. They certainly fit the aesthetic of the map. They're very common in the UK. And I think the last place we'll put them on for now is on this line up to Black. I mean, these are still running the very old, what is that, the rail bus? No, the rotor fail. Forgive my pronunciation there. So these ones could just be single, because these only had a 40 capacity anyway. There we go. Proper small little local town paces there. Very nice to see. And on that note, I believe we'll end it here for today's episode. So what we're going to do is pause the date progression so nothing gets unlocked during the outro. And given that this is a new line, I think we'll take a ride over to LEWES. So what we'll do is we'll jump on this one. It's just coming into the station now, so perfect timing. We'll have to try and ignore the grass there. It doesn't look great, not at such a busy station, of course. And we'll get into well, first of all, let's have a nice look at this while it's loading up. Yeah, I like that. That's the BBC Northwest. Okay. Now that takes me back to my childhood. They were very common when I was growing up, the in-city swallows. So yes, perhaps showing my age a little there. It's 34, by the way. Yeah. So yes, let's say our goodbyes now. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was good to get back to rail building and expansion. Obviously that's what the game's all about. So yes, if you did enjoy, please consider hitting that thumbs up button down below. If you haven't yet subscribed and you wish to do so, it would be greatly appreciated. It does help the channel, and it's always a nice little morale boost as well, as I'm sure you can imagine. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.